Well, hello, my fellow New York Mets fans. How we all doing? I know yesterday was a tough one. Yesterday was a tough one. But we must move on. Yes, we must learn from our setbacks, and we shall learn from our setbacks. It was a tough one yesterday, no doubt about it. And I know we gave Uncle Steve the ball after Tuesday's game, but he definitely doesn't want the ball from yesterday's game, that's for sure. The good news is it's Mets home opening day. Yes, it'll be back at Citi Field in front of Mets fans like you and me, except I won't be there. I probably won't be there till another 2 or 3 weeks. I get my COVID shot. Second COVID shot, Pfizer shot for those keeping score next Monday. And then 2 weeks later, I'll be back up with the denizens up in Upper Deck. So look forward to seeing you guys, and we'll take it from there. But today, we have the opening day, and for those who are going, I want to wish everyone a happy day at the ballpark. It's got to feel good getting there. And let's just shrug off yesterday's game and move forward. Now let's talk about yesterday's game. We have to. The unfortunate thing was we had David Peterson, who I have high hopes for, as our number 3 starter. He really surprised last year, and it looks like he's not gonna be your ace or number 2 pitcher, but he's perfect as a number 3. I would say number 4 man rotation. When Thor comes back, he probably will drop to number 4. But I just love how he attacks, and he's got a durable arm and really doesn't get blown up out of the water. And yesterday was kind of the exception. The Phillies just jumped him from the get-go, let's be honest. And that's the real reason why we lost the Phillies. We were down 4-0 before you could say tomorrow's opening day. And for the third straight game, another so-so performance from our bullpen. Like I've always said, bullpens are so volatile. You don't know if you have a good one or a bad one till halfway through the season. You can never depend on a reliever from year to year. So I hope this isn't a bad sign. I hope we actually have a good bullpen, and I think we do. But yesterday, again, not too good. But what did hurt me a little bit was Michael Conforto was playing for a big contract. Now, usually players are inspired and really go for the gusto when they're playing for a contract. And he's gotten off to a rough start, especially in Philadelphia the past 3 games. And he's always lit it up in Philadelphia, too. So that kind of surprises me. He was the rally killer, let's be honest. And we'll go into more detail by saying that the Mets in general, as a team, finished 1 for 12 runners in scoring position. And Conforto went hitless in 5 at-bats and left 9 runners on base. And over the 3 games, he left 16 runners on base. That is not good when you're the big man in the lineup, or one of the big men in the lineup, I should say. And the Mets are 6 for 29 runners in scoring position in a 3-game series. Now, in the past few years, we know that's always been the same old song and dance. I sure hope that isn't the case this time around, but we shall see. We shall see. But like I said, it was a clunker yesterday. We lost the ball game 8-2. And it kind of took away from the enthusiasm of Marcus Stroman's good outing on Tuesday and the fact that we won our first game for Uncle Steve. So that one hurt, no doubt about it. And even Conforto said his poor hitting, it's a huge part of this game. It's how you win games. It's how you stay in games. And he just didn't do it. We never stayed in the game. The Mets were hanging tough. They were hanging tough till around 5th inning when Jacob Barnes entered and threw his first pitch, and that pitch was to JT Realmuto, and that disappeared behind the right field fence for a 3-run homer, extending the Phillies' lead to 7-1. Now, I'm not one to second guess, but I kind of watch our division opponents pretty closely, and JT Realmuto has a habit of sitting on that first pitch, and if it's a good one, he's going to smack it. And yesterday was no exception. So I'm not sure if they just didn't follow the scouting report or Orange just laid an egg and threw him a softball. I don't know. But after that home run, the Mets were basically out of it at that point. But back to Peterson, after the 4+ innings, he surrendered 6 earned runs on 7 hits with 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. And that sounds pretty bad. And let's be honest, the whole sum of it is pretty bad. But he got off to a rough start, but did settle down. And that was somewhat comforting. And that was reminiscent of his worst start last season as a rookie, which also came against the Phillies. And in that game, he allowed 5 earned runs over 2 innings. So the Phillies, for some reason, always give us fits. And you can even ask Steve and Matz about that because when he pitched in Philly in 2019, I still have nightmares over this game. He allowed 8 runs in the first inning, was removed without recording, and hell, one of the worst performances I ever saw as a Met pitcher, but let's not dwell on the negative. So let's talk about the Phillies and talk about the positive. Rhys Hopkins, I told you guys yesterday, I said, this is a guy you got to watch out for. It looks like he's back to his form when he first came up to the Phillies. And all Phillies Hopkins is huge in that line. Real Muto, if he stays healthy and plays the whole year, you got Harper and Alec Baum. And we'll talk more about him because he also had a big day yesterday, and he's a big bat they're counting on. But Rhys Hopkins homered on a full count fastball to get the big inning started for the Phillies against Peterson. And then the roof kind of fell in when Harper smashed a double. And wisely, they kind of pitched around Real Muto. Wasn't intentional, but he didn't get a ball to hit, and he walked. And then Alec Baum homered, and bingo, bango, bongo, we were down 4-0. Peterson said he had some work to do this week, and he said he noted an early mechanical flaw. Well, I always shake my head when a pitcher says that after the fact. If you knew you had a mechanical flaw, why weren't you working on it before the start? But that's neither here nor there. Hopefully he straightens it out. He did settle on like I said, over the next 3 innings. Hoskins up on the second. I said, oh, well, here we go again. But he was stranded in the third. Yes, indeed, Gregorius had a 2-out single, but that was nothing. That was the only little damage in the inning. And then in the fourth, Andrew Cutchin, who seems to have found the home in Philadelphia, he hit into an inning double play after Matt Joyce was hit by a pitch. Now, Peterson went on to say the first thing was not what I wanted, obviously. And I'm glad he said obviously, because a lot of times these Mets give you Captain Obvious after the game. Peterson's no exception. We'll fix some things and have a solid inning after that. But he never recorded an out in the fifth, allowing another double to Hoskins for Harper for a single. I like the fact that Harper bunted for a single. I like that. And then Rojas had to come in and summon Barnes. And even Rojas said, I thought we had plenty of chance with the job Peterson did on the mound to come back. And they did. They just couldn't come through in the clutch. The day before, they had 8 runs on 5 hits because they got a lot of walks and used their hits timely. Yesterday was the total opposite. Dellin Betances came in the 6th inning, and he hit a batter with a pitch and walked another before allowing a run on Harper's RBI ground out. And I have issues with Betances. I know they wanted him last year. They signed him to big money, but I just think he's damaged goods at this point. He does not have the velocity he once had. There's no question about that. He does not have the velocity he once had. And he topped out at 93 on the radar gun yesterday. And that's a little red sign. You may just want to bring him in and mop up roles from now on. Do not put him in the game when it's going to count. The Mets really didn't yesterday, so I give them credit. And the only sliver of optimism the Mets had was that Jonathan Villar tripled in the 7th inning and scored on a wild pitch. Now, I don't want to get into the whole Villar. He's a personality that has been a cancer in the past in the lineup. So I'd rather see Dominic Smith just be handed the left field job right now. I don't want to see Villar out there every day. He's a good defensive player. I get it. But we need Nimmo at the top of the lineup, and we need Smith out there every day, and Villar just filling in on defense and occasional spot start. Okay, that's my beef, and I'm not going to rant and rave about it anymore, at least for today. The one promising thing I did see was Joey Lucchesi. He entered the game in the 7th inning for his Mets debut and pitched 2 scoreless innings down. Due to the schedule and the off days and the cancellation so far, Lucchesi's probably not going to start till sometime next week. But I think the Mets really do have to consider having him come in as a 1 or 2 inning reliever, sort of like a Seth Lugo, because he has 1 or 2 pitches that he throws that sinker, that hard sinker, and he throws the ball down low. And it looks like he can really wing it for an inning or 2, and he might be an option in relief once Noah comes back. So keep that in mind, keep that in the back burner, and I sure hope that happens. It means A, Noah's healthy, and B, Joey can convert into a long relief role like Seth Lugo, because I still think we got to give Seth a shot in the starting rotation. He's just too good to be put in as a setup man for Edwin Diaz. That's just my whole thing. Now, the series itself, like I said, it could be better. The signs were all there. The Mets were last year 2-5 in rubber games. They were 6-13 in day games last year. And with Aaron Nola, who I consider to be maybe one of the top 5 pitchers in the game, he's a stud. People don't realize how good Aaron Nola is. we had our work cut out for us yesterday. So losing the series 2-3, I can accept it. You never want to accept things. But if we're going to lose, we lose early in the season, 2-3, 2 out of 3 to Philly. That's fine. Philly's off to a hot start, and they're 5-1, and that's nothing to laugh at this point. It's games that have to be made up somewhere along the way. But like Michael Conforto said, he said, I don't think too many of us are worried about what happened over this series, but we are well aware that we didn't play very well, top to bottom. So that's how the Mets feel about this. And hopefully, we were hoping it does come out to be a good thing for the Mets, that this is a series we learn from and we just take it from there. It's a long season. The good thing is we got the Marlins coming in, and they're always good remedy. I think I'm not taking any away from the Marlins. Please don't think I'm willing the Marlins, but I think they played way over their heads last year, and this could be the remedy the Mets need. Now, the one thing some tidbits I always like to throw out there is Pete Alonso. We don't realize how good this stud's been, and he hit his 70th career home run this season in just his 220th career game. And he has reached 70 homers, 11 games faster than any other player in Met history. And I said every day I'll throw a little trivia question out there for you. So today's trivia question, I'll give you the answer at the end of this broadcast, is, let me cue up the Jeopardy music as we always do. Are you ready? Who are the next two players who reached 70 home runs fastest in the major leagues now that Pete Alonso is the fastest to do it? We'll have our answer right at the end of the broadcast here. So study hard, you rack your brain, lock in your answer, and at the end of this podcast, YouTube cast, I will come back and ask you what you're. Sound like a deal? Sounds good to me, doesn't it? So that is our trivia Jeopardy question of the day. Woohoo! Aren't you glad you tuned in? So anyway, on to opening day. Here's another one. This is a potential opening day trivia question for you, and I think I may use this one tomorrow. The Mets have 4 of their first round selections on their opening day roster, and these are players that the Mets drafted and were number 1. And I'll give you one of the answers was David Peterson, who started yesterday. So for tomorrow, your homework assignment is, what other 3 Mets were on this current roster were first round selections by the Mets? Now there are other. The Mets also have other number 1 franchises from other organizations, and we will go into that. There's 6 other ones, and I don't want to rack your brain with that one, but the Mets have 6 first-round picks from other teams, too, on their roster. Now, like I said, the thing that was disconcerting was Michael Conforto, who usually lights the lamp when he's in Philadelphia, did not do anything yesterday or for the series, and his last 8 games, and that includes the games coming into yesterday, not yesterday's game. He was 15 for 37, 405 with 4 doubles, a home run, 6 RBIs, 9 runs scored, and a 1.03 OPS. And he ranks 7th among active players with 20 career home runs in Philadelphia versus Philadelphia. And he's hit 13 of those home runs at Citizens Bank Park. And that's good for 9th on the park's all-time list by visiting players. And the only active players that have more home runs at Citizens Bank Park are Ryan Zimmerman. And can you guess who the other one is? Yes. Philly's favorite son, Bryce Harper. So I don't understand what happened. Now, I'll give you some other stats about Mets who do well in Philadelphia. Dominic Smith is another one. He's had 6 home runs at Citizens Bank Park since the 2009 season started. So he loves that ballpark, and that's tied with Ronald Acuna Jr., another up-and-rising superstar. He also has 6 since the beginning of 2009. And just to show you how good Dominic Smith has been for the Mets, and what a pleasant surprise he's been. He has a .299 batting average since beginning of 2019, 365 on-base percentage, and a .575 on-base percentage. So his OPS is fantastic. It's over 900 with the Mets, and he's had 31 doubles, a triple, 22 homers, 69 RBIs, and an OPS of 149. An OPS of 149. That's about as good as you can get. That's all-star caliber. So we need to get Dominic Smith in the lineup every day. No ifs, ands, or buts. Now, I hope you guys noticed that yesterday the Mets were wearing the number 41 on their sleeve, and that is so nice to see. It's going to be a good year to remember Tom Seaver. A lot of reflecting. We're a little bit back to normal. We're playing 162 games, and we're going to have fans in the ballpark, and hopefully more fans as the season comes on. And it's going to be good to remember Tom. And I hope the Mets do that through various, like on the broadcast, highlight certain moments in Tom Seaver's career. And I hope they do that. Maybe I'll even suggest to them, not that they listen to me, but maybe I'll shout out a suggestion on the broadcast that on this day, Tom Seaver did this, Tom Seaver did that. Now, New York is celebrating opening day. How? Well, the Empire State Building will be lit up with orange and blue lights to celebrate the Mets home opener. And going back in time, let's go back. Can you believe it's been 37 years yesterday that Dwight Gooden made his major league debut? My God, am I getting old or what? I still think that Dwight Gooden is a flame-throwing kid. And now it's been 37 years since he came on and pitched for the Mets. Unbelievable. Now, the home opener is sold out. It should be a raucous crowd. I think people are psyched up no matter how many. We're going to have 20% in the ballpark, so it's going to be a little more than 8,000. But it'll be good to see the fans. They'll be psyched to be there. It should be an honor for them to be one of the 8,000 there. And like I said, the Mets are following all the COVID-19 precautions. You have to have proof of 2 vaccinations and a 2-week waiting period, or a negative COVID test taken 6 hours for game time. So the Mets aren't just letting anybody into the ballpark, and that's why I have to wait a few weeks before I can go. And it's going to be cashless. You're going to have a debit or a credit card. And I think the Mets are actually going to have machines that will convert cash into debit when you're there. So, but it's basically going to be a no cash policy at the ballpark. So we shall see what happens there. And don't forget, today's starting pitcher is Taijuan Walker. In the spring, he went 1-0, 3.27 ERA in 3 starts, and struck out 7 batters, walked 4. And in his last timeout, which is basically the litmus test, he threw 5 scoreless innings, allowed 2 runs on 3 hits with a walk and 2 strikeouts against St. Louis on March 29th. He is locked in now for the next 3. After this year, he has 2 more years locked in with the Mets. So this isn't a flash in the pan. He's going to be in the rotation. We need him to pitch well, that's for sure. Now, as we do, we like to mix it up with some fun facts, and that's why you're tuning in. We're going to go over to this date in Mets history with birthdays, and today we have 6 guys we want to salute. The first is Mac Scarce. Does anyone know Mac Scarce's real name? It's Gorant McCarty Scarce, and he wore number 33 for the Mets. And his claim to fame, he just pitched 1 game for the Mets. He pitched 1 inning. But he is infamous with the Mets because he was in that big trade with John Stearns and Del Unser coming to the Mets. In exchange, we gave up fan favorite Tug McGraw, Don Hahn, and Dave Schneck. Dave Schneck's one of those guys that live in infamy. For some reason, fans always like to mention Dave Schneck. And I'll tell you a little story. When I went to see the Mets, I think in 75 or 74, Dave Schneck in game action hit one of the furthest balls I've ever seen, but it was foul. It went like into the upper reaches of the mezzanine. And to this day, I remember that. It's funny how you remember all these little things, isn't it? And then also, today's birthday, Pete Walker. Who remembers Pete? Raise your hand. Yes, he was a 2-timer who played 2 times with the Mets. He was actually selected by the Mets in the 7th round as a free agent in 1990 and finally made the team in 95 and pitched 17 innings. But then he was traded to the Padres with Louis Arroyo for Roberto Patagini and Scott Adair. Who remembers that blockbuster? And then he re-signed with the Mets as a free agent in 2000. And then in 2001, 2002, 2001 he pitched 2 games, 2002 1 game. So Pete Walker, I should say. It's his birthday today. You say it's your birthday, you're going to have a good time, Pete. Gary Carter. Yes. Now, there's a Met we should all celebrate. And I think in the near future, both Gary and Keith are going to have their numbers retired by the Mets. Gary was the missing piece for the Mets when they acquired him in 85 and that 84, I should say, the offseason of 84. on December 10th when they traded Hubie Brooks, Mike Fitzgerald, Herm Winningham, and Floyd Yeomans for Gary. And he was Mr. Expo up to that point. No denying that. He's as beloved in Montreal and should be because he played there for 10 years. But with the Mets, he was the National League Player of the Month in September of 85, Player of the Week, September 8th, 1985. And he was named catcher on the National League Silver Slugger teams in 85 and 86. He wore number 8. And he was beloved by the Mets. Now, when he was with the Mets, now this record's been broken, but he tied the season record of 105 RBIs in 86. That was held by Rusty Staub in 75, and then broken by Darryl Strawberry in 1990 at 108. And he established a Mets season record for sacrifice flies in 86 with 15, which was tied by Howard Johnson in 91. Now, to us, he'll always be remembered as the kid. He was like the clean-cut guy on those bunch of rebel teams. And he'll always be remembered. Even though he only played really 4 full seasons with the Mets, his 5th season, he was pretty much broken down piece of goods at that point. But left a lasting impression. So that's why, because he only played really 4 quality years, sort of like Reggie Jackson with the Yankees. Will they retire his number? I think he's in the Hall of Fame, and the Mets have this policy where you have to be in the Hall of Fame. Well, Carter's there. It's just a question of whether or not you're going to reward him for the 4 years he did it with the Mets. Now, also, let's give a shout-out to Timo Perez. It's his birthday today. Now, I know when I say Timo Perez, a lot of people shudder. And they have flashbacks to the 2000 season, and I'll just leave it at that. He was signed as a free agent by the Mets in 2000. And then, he was just, I think he was just he wasn't drafted. He just came from the Dominican Republic. And they signed him. And then he was traded back to the White Sox by the Mets in 2004 for Matt Ginter. Now let's also say happy birthday to Eddie Coons. Who remembers Eddie Coons? Good to see some of you. Okay, yeah, you know Eddie Coons. That's good. I remember him too. In 2008, he pitched in 4 games, basically a cup of coffee. He was the Mets' first-round pick, so they had high expectations for him. And the free agent draft of 2007. So you can see they brought him right up in 2008. But then he kind of lingered in the minor leagues, and the Mets traded him to Padres for Alan Dykstra on March 29, 2011. And last but not least on the birthday list is Jeff McNeil. Yes, the squirrel, the hit machine, Jeff McNeil. And a little side comment on Jeff McNeil. I want to see him as the second baseman. I think him and McNeil should be locked in as the double play combo, the key stop combo for the Mets for at least the next 5 years. Put McNeil at a position where he can get comfortable. He's a talented athlete, and he'll master second base as best he can. And with Francisco Lindor, what better tutored on the other side of the Keystone Cop duo than Francisco? So if you're listening out there, please, please, please put Jeff McNeil as the second baseman. And I have nothing but high hopes for Jeff McNeil. I think the sky is the limit for him. Now, he's a late bloomer. Don't kid yourself. He is going to be, April 8th. That's today. Happy birthday. 29 years old. Happy birthday, Jeff. And this is his prime of his career, so let it rip, baby. And here are some of the numbers that have impressed me. He led the Mets in doubles with 38 in 2019. Batting average with 318 in 2019. Mets with on-base percentage of 384 in 2019. Led the Mets in hit by pitches. Yes, he's our new Ron Hunt. He's what Ron Hunt was to the Met fans in the 60s. That's Jeff McNeil these days. He got hit by a pitch 21 times in 2019. He's led the Mets in sacrifice flies with 3 in 2020. And he tied for the Mets lead in sacrifice hits with 4 in 2018. So happy birthday to the squirrel, Jeff McNeil. And that concludes our birthdays and some of the transactions of note for the Mets. In 1996, they traded Christy Witt for Matt Franco. And what a steal that was, because Matt Franco was the ultimate player, a platoon player who did it all. And we still love Matt to this day. And then in 2004, the Mets claimed Jason Anderson on waivers from the Cleveland Indians. Who remembers that? Okay, not too many, I guess. All right, that's okay. But anyway, that's it for our this date in Met history. Now let's kind of roll forward and answer that Jeopardy question we had presented before. Who's ready? I see we've all locked in our answers, and that makes Uncle Stan very, very happy. Thank you very much, by the way, for participating in this. The two players, after Pete Alonso, were the fastest to get to 70 home runs. Aaron Judge, here come the Judge for the New York Yankees. He did in 231 games from 2016 to 2018. And Ryan Howard, who did it in 233 games from 2004 to 2006. So congratulations to all you lucky winners out there. Good job. Good job. Now let's go talk a little bit more about today's game if you want, and I hope you do want to. Uh, let me shut off the Jeopardy. Okay, that's it. That's it, Jeopardy. Yeah. Anyway, back to today's game. Uh, Before we go any further, let me just let you know that Major League Baseball decided to make up those national. They were going to make them up anyway, but they announced what they're going to do with those national games. Saturday, June 19th, it'll be a 105-605 split doubleheader at Nationals Park. Now, I'm assuming with these split doubleheaders, they're going to play 9 innings. Has anyone found out about that? I'm not sure. Monday, June 28th, will be 7:05 at Nationals Park, and that was mutual day off for both clubs. And then on Saturday, September 4th, at 1 o'clock and 6:05 split doubleheader at Nationals Park. Oh, I just found out. All the doubleheaders will be 7 innings. So I guess any doubleheader where it's one paid admission or a split doubleheader, that would suck if you had to pay for just 7 innings. But they're going to be 7-inning doubleheaders. Like I said, the Mets, this is our first homestand of the year today, so let's do this. And they'll play the Marlins 3 games and the Phillies 4 games and 7 games for a 7-game homestand in 8 days. And let's make it better than our 1-2 opening road trip in Philadelphia. The Mets are 38-21 in home openers. Wish they played that way all year with that winning percentage, and they're 8-4 at Citi Field, so the Magic's even continued at Citi Field. The Mets won their home opener last year, 1-0 against the Atlanta Braves. Nobody at the ballpark really enjoyed it because nobody was there. But let's talk about Pete Alonso. Remember the Beatles' Revolution number 9? Number 9, number 9, number 9. Well, Pete is on a 9-game hitting streak. He's batting .424, 14 for 33, with 8 runs, 3 doubles, 5 homers, 11 RBIs, 6 walks, and a steal, for a .513 on-base percentage and a .970 OPS in the streak that dates back to September 22nd, 2020. Way to go, Pete. That surpasses his previous high of 8 games, which he accomplished from September 1 through 9, 2019. And the 3 games so far this year, he's .308, 4 for 13, with 3 homers, a double, a home run, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and a 1.015 OPS. Now, you know me, I keep saying, gotta play Nimmo, gotta play Nimmo. Well, in the 3 games so far, he's reached his base safely in all 3 games this season. He's batting .333, 3 for 9 with 2 runs, an RBI, 5 walks, a .571 OBP, and a .905 OPS. And this is why he's the man. And Uncle Stan's going to beat this to death. He has reached base in 16 straight games dating back to September 11th last season. In that span, he's batting .375, 18 for 48, 7 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, 11 walks, a .500 OBP, and a 1.03 OPS in that span. Now, Michael Conforto, remember Eddie Kranepool? Eddie. Well, Conforto is now tied for 11th in the all-time home run list for the Mets. So Michael's up there with the legends. And next one he needs to catch is Edgardo Alfonso, Fonzie, who is 10th with 120 dingers. And Conforto's basically split up his home runs, sort of like with Stan Musial, I think, did, where they had the same amount of hits, home and away. Well, Conforto has 60 home runs in Citi Field, and that places him second on the all-time leaderboard at Citi Field. Now we're going to ask another question the next day or two. Who holds the record for home runs at Citi Field. So study up. I'm already prepping you with some of these trivia questions, so you better get them right. And again, Conforto was hitting well against the Phillies until this series. Well, I don't want to jinx him here, but since 2019, Conforto's hitting 400, 32 for 80 in 25 games versus Miami with 5 doubles, 11 homers, 22 RBIs, 25 runs scored, 19 walks, and a 1.418 OPS. Yes, we need Michael to break through against the Marlins, don't we? And he is the only player in the majors with a better OPS against a single team in that span with at least 100 plate appearances. Nelson Cruz, who has a 1.448 OPS and 108 plate appearances, I should say, versus Kansas City. Overall, against the Marlins, he has a 308 average, 423 on-base percentage, 580 OPS with 47 runs, 13 doubles, 16 homers, 46 RBIs, 39 walks, and 1,000.2 OPS in 73 career games. And that's his highest batting average against any team the Mets play against in the Eastern Division. So let's go, Michael. Now, Taijuan Walker, we're hoping for a healthy Taijuan Walker, and he gets the ball today. Now, from 2018 to 2020, he made 15 starts. He underwent TJ surgery on April 14, 2018, missed the entire 2019, and he's recovered. So we're hoping he can recapture that pass. The good thing is he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on that arm because he hasn't pitched a lot, but hopefully it's a healthy arm. And if it is, we should be okay with Taijuan this year. I also hope we do better at home this year than we did last year. We were 12-17 at Citi Field in 2020. I'm going to kind of blame that on the morgue-like atmosphere with no fans there. I'll give the Mets a pass on that. And the team posted a 5.11 ERA in 259 innings last year. So at Citi Field, and that's not good because Citi Field is a pitcher's ballpark. And we were even outscored at home last year, 157 and 127. So that does not make me very happy. And, you want to make me happy. But what are we going to do? So like I said, it's the home opener. Tune in. It's stop what you're doing, play hooky. If you're working from home, just pretend like you're working from home. And it's on Snide today. The pregame coverage begins in about 40 minutes at 11:30. I'm looking forward to this season. I know the season got off to a rough start, but the beauty of baseball is you bounce back the next day. Even if you can't bounce back the next day, it's usually the next day. So let's do this. Let's make Citi Field a place where teams do not want to go. And let's start today. Again, thank you as always from the bottom of my heart for listening to these broadcasts or watching them on YouTube. I really, really do appreciate it. Always feel free to leave comments. Feel free to like it. And if you dislike it, hit dislike. I can handle it. It means I need to do some work on these things. And by all means, subscribe. I do one at least one a day, and that's probably what I'll be doing every day unless a news story pops up. So please subscribe, and you'll know when my next YouTube Met broadcast is up. So it's here. It's Met opening day. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for your time. Play ball, and let's go Mets.